Doubt is one of the quietest yet most destructive forces a person can experience during difficult times. It does not always come loudly or aggressively. Often, it creeps in slowly, planting small questions in the heart that gradually grow into heavy uncertainty. A person may begin a trial with patience and trust, but as the hardship stretches on, the mind starts asking questions. Why is this happening to me? Is there even a way out? Has Allah forgotten me? These thoughts may seem natural in moments of pain, but if left unchecked, they begin to weaken the foundation of faith. Doubt clouds judgment, drains emotional strength, and creates a feeling of isolation, even when one is not truly alone. It turns temporary problems into overwhelming burdens because it removes the sense of divine support that gives believers resilience. When doubt settles into the heart, it changes how a person interprets everything around them. A delay becomes a denial, a test feels like punishment, and silence feels like abandonment. Instead of seeing wisdom behind events, a person begins to see only hardship. This mental shift is dangerous because it disconnects the believer from hope. Without hope, even small challenges feel impossible to overcome. Doubt convinces a person that their situation is unique in its difficulty, that no one understands, and that relief may never come. But this is an illusion. The truth is that countless people before have faced trials, endured them with faith, and emerged stronger. What made the difference was not the absence of pain, but the presence of belief. Faith, on the other hand, acts as a powerful anchor in the middle of life's storms. While doubt shakes the heart, faith stabilizes it. Faith does not necessarily remove the hardship immediately, but it transforms how a person experiences it. When someone truly believes in Allah, they begin to understand that every situation, no matter how painful, is under divine control. This belief creates a deep sense of calm, even when circumstances remain unchanged. It allows a person to say, I may not understand this now, but I trust that there is a reason. That single shift in perspective can lighten a heavy heart in ways that nothing else can. Faith strengthens the heart instantly because it reconnects a person to something greater than their problem. When someone remembers that Allah is all-powerful, all-knowing, and most merciful, their difficulties no longer seem as overwhelming. The problem itself may still exist, but it is no longer viewed as unconquerable. Instead, it becomes something manageable, something temporary, something that has a purpose. This is the difference between a heart filled with doubt and a heart filled with faith. One sees only darkness, while the other sees the possibility of light, even if it is not yet visible. Another powerful aspect of faith is that it gives meaning to suffering. Without faith, pain feels random and unfair. It feels like something that has no purpose and no reward. But with faith, every moment of hardship carries value. A believer understands that patience during difficulty is not wasted, that every tear is seen, and that every struggle is recorded. This understanding transforms suffering from something meaningless into something purposeful. It becomes a means of growth, purification, and elevation. Even when the pain is intense, there is comfort in knowing that it is not in vain. Faith also brings a sense of companionship that doubt can never offer. When a person believes in Allah, they are never truly alone. Even if they feel isolated from people, there is always a connection, always a presence, always someone who understands every unspoken word and every hidden emotion. This awareness is incredibly powerful during difficult times because it removes the feeling of abandonment. A person may be surrounded by people and still feel alone, but when they feel connected to Allah, that loneliness begins to fade. It is replaced by a quiet reassurance that someone is always there, listening, knowing, and caring. In contrast, doubt isolates a person emotionally and spiritually. It creates a barrier between the individual and their Creator. Instead of turning to Allah for comfort, a person may begin to withdraw, feeling unworthy or uncertain. This distance only deepens the pain because it removes the very source of peace that could bring relief. Doubt convinces a person to rely solely on their limited understanding, which often leads to overthinking and anxiety. Faith, however, encourages surrender. It allows a person to accept that they do not have all the answers and that they do not need to. Trusting Allah means accepting that His knowledge is complete, even when ours is not. One of the most immediate effects of faith is the calm it brings to the heart. This calm is not dependent on external circumstances. It does not require the problem to be solved or the situation to change. It comes from within, from the certainty that Allah is in control. This inner peace is incredibly valuable because it allows a person to function, to think clearly, and to continue moving forward, even in the face of difficulty. Without this peace, a person may feel stuck, overwhelmed, and unable to cope. But with faith, even the heaviest burdens become lighter. Faith also changes the way a person reacts to challenges. Instead of panicking or falling into despair, they respond with patience and trust. This does not mean they do not feel pain or sadness. It simply means that those emotions do not control them. They feel the pain, but they also hold on to hope. They experience the difficulty, but they also believe in relief. This balance is what allows them to endure. It is what gives them the strength to keep going when everything feels uncertain. Another important aspect is that faith encourages action, not passivity. Believing in Allah does not mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means doing your best while trusting that the outcome is in Allah's hands. This combination of effort and trust is incredibly powerful. It removes the fear of failure because a person understands that success is not solely defined by results, but also by intention and effort. When someone has faith, they are more willing to try, to persevere, and to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Doubt, in contrast, often leads to inaction. When a person is consumed by uncertainty, they may hesitate, procrastinate, or give up entirely. They may feel that their efforts are pointless or that success is out of reach. This mindset can become a self-fulfilling cycle, where lack of action leads to lack of results, which then reinforces the doubt. Breaking this cycle requires a shift in belief. It requires choosing faith over fear, trust over uncertainty, and hope over despair. Faith also reshapes how a person views time and outcomes. In moments of hardship, it is easy to become impatient, to want immediate relief, and to feel frustrated when things do not change quickly. But faith teaches patience. It reminds a person that everything happens at the right time, even if that timing is not what they would choose. This patience is not passive waiting. It is active trust. It is the belief that delay does not mean denial, and that something better may be unfolding behind the scenes. Over time, this mindset creates resilience. A person who consistently chooses faith over doubt becomes stronger, more stable, and more grounded. They are less shaken by challenges because they have developed a deep sense of trust. They know that difficulties will come and go, but their connection with Allah remains constant. This stability is one of the greatest gifts of faith. It allows a person to navigate life's ups and downs without losing themselves in the process. Ultimately, the battle between doubt and faith is an internal one. Another important aspect is understanding that Allah's power is not just about removing hardships, but also about strengthening the person going through them. Sometimes the situation does not change immediately, but the person does. They become more patient, more resilient, more grounded. They discover an inner strength they did not know they had. This too is a manifestation of divine power. It shows that even if the external circumstances remain challenging, the internal state can improve in powerful ways. A stronger heart can handle what a weaker one could not, and that strength is a gift. At the same time, letting go of the question of why me is essential for maintaining faith during difficult times. This question often arises from a place of pain and confusion. It is a natural reaction when something unexpected or painful happens. A person looks at their life, compares it to others, and begins to feel singled out by hardship. They may think, why am I going through this while others seem fine? This line of thinking can quickly lead to resentment, frustration, and a sense of injustice. It shifts the focus from trust to questioning, from acceptance to resistance. The problem with a why me is that it assumes life should always be easy or fair according to human standards. But life is not designed that way. Everyone faces challenges, even if they are not always visible. What you see on the surface of someone else's life is rarely the full story. Behind the scenes, people are dealing with their own struggles, fears, and tests. Comparing your hardship to someone else's apparent ease is often misleading because it is based on incomplete information. More importantly, it distracts you from your own journey and your own growth. Instead of asking why me, shifting to he knows brings a completely different kind of peace. This does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending the pain does not exist. It means acknowledging that there is a wisdom behind what is happening, even if it is not immediately clear. It is an act of humility, accepting that human understanding is limited and that there are aspects of life that only Allah fully comprehends. This perspective allows a person to release the need for constant answers and to focus instead on navigating the situation with patience and trust. Believing that Allah knows everything about your situation brings comfort in a very deep way. It means that your struggle is not random, not overlooked, and not meaningless. Every detail is known, every moment is accounted for, and every emotion is understood. This awareness removes the feeling of being lost or forgotten, even when things do not make sense. There is reassurance in knowing that they are not without purpose. What feels confusing to you is part of a larger picture that is perfectly clear to Allah. This mindset also encourages acceptance without passivity. Acceptance does not mean giving up or stopping effort. It means recognizing reality without resisting it emotionally. When you stop fighting the fact that something has happened, you free up mental and emotional energy to deal with it more effectively. You move from a state of resistance to a state of response. Instead of being stuck in the question of why, you begin to ask a what now? This shift is crucial for growth and progress. Trusting that Allah knows also helps in managing expectations. Sometimes a person expects life to go in a certain direction, and when it does not, they feel disappointed and confused. But when you accept that Allah's knowledge is greater than yours, you become more open to different outcomes. You understand that what you wanted may not have been what was best for you, and that something better may come in a different form. This openness reduces frustration and increases contentment, even when things do not go as planned. Over time, replacing a whiny with he knows builds a stronger, more stable mindset. It reduces overthinking because you are no longer trying to analyze every detail or force everything to make sense immediately. It increases patience because you trust that clarity will come in time, if not in this life, then in the next. And it deepens your connection with Allah because you are choosing trust over doubt, even when it is difficult. Together, these two key ideas, recognizing that your hardship is not bigger than Allah's power and letting go of why me in favor of trusting He knows, create a powerful foundation for navigating difficult times. They shift your focus from limitation to possibility, from confusion to trust, and from despair to hope. They remind you that no matter how heavy the situation feels, you are not carrying it alone, and you are not facing something beyond divine control. Faith turns confusion into clarity, but this transformation does not always happen instantly or in the way a person expects. During difficult times, confusion often takes over the mind. Thoughts become scattered, decisions feel overwhelming, and nothing seems to make sense. A person may feel lost, unsure of what to do next, and uncertain about the future. This mental state can be exhausting because it creates a constant loop of overthinking. The more one tries to figure everything out, the more tangled it becomes. In such moments, the desire for clear answers becomes intense, yet clarity seems out of reach. What faith does in this situation is not necessarily provide immediate answers, but it changes the way confusion is experienced. Instead of feeling like a dead end, confusion becomes a temporary phase. A person begins to understand that not knowing everything right now is not a failure, but a part of the journey. Faith introduces the idea that clarity will come at the right time and that there is wisdom even in the periods of uncertainty. This belief alone can reduce a significant amount of mental pressure. It allows the mind to rest instead of constantly searching for answers it may not yet be ready to receive. When someone places their trust in Allah, they begin to rely less on their limited understanding and more on divine guidance. This shift is subtle but powerful. Instead of trying to control every outcome, they begin to focus on taking the next step with sincerity and trust. Over time, this approach naturally brings clarity, not necessarily in the form of a grand realization, but in small, steady insights. One decision leads to another, one step reveals the next, and gradually the path becomes clearer. Faith teaches patience in this process, reminding a person that clarity is often a journey, not a single moment. Another way faith brings clarity is by calming the emotional chaos that often accompanies confusion. When emotions are intense, fear, anxiety, sadness, They can distort perception. A situation may seem worse than it actually is, or solutions may be overlooked because the mind is too overwhelmed to see them. Faith acts as a stabilizer. It soothes the heart, reduces emotional intensity, and creates space for clearer thinking. When the heart is at ease, the mind follows. Decisions become more balanced, perspectives become more realistic, and the ability to navigate challenges improves significantly. Faith also helps in distinguishing between what can be controlled and what cannot. Much of confusion comes from trying to control everything at once. A person may worry about outcomes, other people's actions, and future possibilities that are beyond their reach. This creates unnecessary mental clutter. Through faith, a person learns to focus on their responsibilities while leaving the rest to Allah. This separation simplifies life. It removes the burden of trying to manage the uncontrollable and allows a person to channel their energy into what truly matters. Clarity through faith is also deeply connected to purpose. During hardship, it is easy to lose sight of why things are happening and what one is supposed to learn or do. Everything feels random and disorganized. But faith reintroduces a sense of direction. It reminds a person that life is not without meaning and that every experience, even the difficult ones, contributes to growth and understanding. This awareness brings a different kind of clarity, not necessarily about the details of the situation, but about the bigger picture. It answers the deeper question of what is this teaching me? Rather than just why is this happening? Over time, this perspective transforms how a person deals with uncertainty. Instead of fearing confusion, they begin to accept it as a natural part of life. They understand that not every chapter will be clear, but every chapter will have value. This acceptance reduces frustration and increases resilience. It allows a person to move forward even when they do not have all the answers, trusting that clarity will unfold as they continue their journey with faith. Allah never abandons those who trust Him, even though there may be moments when it feels like He has. This feeling of abandonment often arises during prolonged hardship, when prayers seem unanswered and relief seems delayed. A person may begin to wonder if they are being ignored, forgotten, or left to deal with their struggles alone. These feelings can be deeply painful because they touch on a fundamental need for connection and support. When that support feels absent, it can create a sense of emptiness and despair. However, the feeling of abandonment is not the reality. It is a perception shaped by human emotion and limited understanding. Trusting in Allah means believing that His presence and care are constant, even when they are not Arabic meme, Arabic eat, Arabic seen, Arabic wow, Arabic seen, or immediately visible. Just because something cannot be seen or felt in a specific moment does not mean it is not there. In fact, many forms of support and protection happen in ways that a person may never fully realize. There may be harm that was prevented, opportunities that were quietly arranged, or strength that was given without being consciously noticed. One of the reasons people feel abandoned is because they expect support to come in a specific form. They may expect immediate solutions, clear signs, or visible changes in their situation. When these expectations are not met, it can lead to disappointment. But Allah's help does not always come in the ways we anticipate. Sometimes it comes as patience, sometimes as resilience, sometimes as a delay that protects from something worse. Understanding this broadens the definition of support and allows a person to recognize it in different forms. Trust also plays a key role in maintaining this belief. Trust is not just about believing when things are going well. It is about holding on to that belief even when things are difficult. It is easy to feel connected when life is smooth, but true trust is revealed during hardship. It is the decision to continue believing in Allah's presence and care, even when emotions suggest otherwise. This kind of trust requires effort and consistency, but it also brings a deep sense of stability. Another important aspect is that Allah's closeness is not dependent on external circumstances. A person may feel distant because of what they are going through, but that does not mean Allah is distant. In fact, difficult times can be moments of increased closeness if a person turns to Him sincerely. Pain has a way of breaking down barriers and making the heart more open. In these moments, a person may find themselves praying more deeply, reflecting more honestly, and connecting more sincerely than they ever have before. This is not abandonment. It is an invitation to come closer. It is also important to recognize that trust in Allah does not eliminate emotional struggle. A person can believe deeply and still feel sad, confused, or even temporarily distant. These feelings are part of the human experience. What matters is not the absence of these emotions, but how a person responds to them. Choosing to return to trust again and again is what strengthens faith. It is a continuous process, not a one-time decision. Over time, those who maintain their trust begin to see its impact. They notice that they are able to endure more than they thought possible. They find moments of relief in unexpected places. They gain insights and strength that were not there before. These experiences reinforce the belief that they were never truly alone. Looking back, they can often see how things were unfolding in ways they did not understand at the time. The idea that Allah never abandons those who trust Him also brings comfort in the long term. It reassures a person that no matter how difficult life becomes, there is always a constant source of support. This knowledge creates a sense of security that is not dependent on people, circumstances, or outcomes. It is a steady foundation that remains even when everything else feels uncertain. Together, these two keynotes, faith turning confusion into clarity and the certainty that Allah never abandons those who trust Him, offer a powerful framework for navigating life's challenges. They address both the internal struggle of not understanding and the emotional struggle of feeling alone. By embracing faith, a person can find direction even in uncertainty and connection even in isolation, allowing them to move forward with a sense of peace and trust that carries them through even the most difficult times.